Russia has unleashed one of the year's biggest bombardments on Ukraine, striking several cities. Israel has announced it will expand its air and ground offensive into central Gaza amid a deadly missile strike in Rafah. Russian strikes killed 3 people and wounded 9 on Thursday in 2 villages in southern Ukraine's Zaporizhia region, according to local authorities. Meanwhile, in his night address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked the US Congress and President for the last batch of military aid.
Хочу подякувати за новий оборонний пакет від Сполучених Штатів, вже 34-й за цей рік і 54-й за час нашого захисту від цієї російської агресії. Я вдячний президенту Байдену, Конгресу, обом партіям та усім тим, хто підтримує нас у цілком конкретному завданні. Російський терор повинен програти. Терор завжди повинен програвати.
In Ukraine, police helicopters are now the fastest way to evacuate the wounded. To date, they have saved more than 2,500 lives. Where an evacuation vehicle cannot get through or take several hours to reach, helicopters save precious time. At least 23 people were killed by a missile strike on a residential building in Rafah on Thursday as Israel announced it will expand its offensive into central Gaza. Hamas say more than 21,000 Palestinians have now been killed in the conflict and that they will not negotiate until airstrikes stop completely.
نؤكد أولاً انفتاح الحركة على أي أفكار أو مقترحات لوقف العدوان بشكل كامل ونهائي على شعبنا في قطاع غزة، فشعبنا لا يريد وقفاً مجتزأ أو مؤقتاً بل وقفاً كاملاً للعدوان. وهنا نؤكد أيضاً أن إدارة الشأن الفلسطيني هي قرار فلسطيني وطني داخلي.
Meanwhile, as hundreds of young people took to the streets in Tel Aviv, the Israeli military took full responsibility for 3 hostages killed by Israeli troops earlier this month.
אנחנו אחראים על מה שקרה. הצגנו למשפחות את התחקיר ואת כל הממצאים שעמדו לרשותנו. בשקיפות, תוך חתירה לאמת, הגם שהיא קשה וכואבת מאוד.
Convoys of trucks carrying much-needed aid, including fuel, drove through the Rafah crossing from Egypt into Gaza on Thursday. The deliveries were escorted by Hamas police.
Bulgaria and Romania have received permission to join Europe's passport and visa-free Schengen area. Starting in March, the governments of the 2 countries confirmed. The move will initially apply only to travelers arriving by air and sea.
După 13 ani de așteptări, avem în sfârșit un acord politic. Acesta urmează să fie pus în practică în scurt timp. Ridicarea granițelor aeriene și maritime din martie 2024 reprezintă un drept câștigat după lungi negocieri.
Тези преговори ще са съчетани с съществена подкрепа от страна на Европейската комисия за защита на външните граници на Европейския съюз с Турция и Сърбия, за да намалим притока на нелегални мигранти към Европа.
Austria had previously blocked their entrance into the Schengen area, but now say they wanted to continue negotiations over the need for border checks when crossing from the 2 countries by land.
The US state of Maine has banned Donald Trump from running for president. The former US leader was barred from the ballot by Maine's Secretary of State because of his actions leading up to the 2021 US Capitol riot. Maine joins Colorado, which also cited insurrection, as the 2nd state to disqualify Trump. Both decisions are on hold while the legal process plays out. Water levels in Budapest, provoked by heavy rain and snow thaw in exceptionally mild weather, are the highest for the last decade. Late on Wednesday, the peak level of the Danube running through the Hungarian capital was at 6.93 meters. Cars had to be removed from lower embankments on both districts of Buda and Pest, said the mayor's office. Flood barriers were erected this week at numerous locations along the Dutch River Isel, following an expected period of heavy downpours. According to authorities, the water level in the Isel was rising, quote, very fast, sometimes at a rate at 1 centimeter per hour. Anticipating heavy rainfall in the upcoming days, floodwaters in western Lithuania are expected to rise 15 to 25 millimeters, concerning officials. Home to the delta of the river Nemunas, the west of the country typically experiences flooding in the spring. However, this winter marks the second instance in 2 months where natural water levels have reached critical levels. President Nicolás Maduro has ordered Venezuela's armed forces to conduct defensive exercises in the Caribbean after the United Kingdom sent a warship towards Guyana's territorial waters. Venezuela and the ex-British colony Guyana are currently involved in a border dispute over the Essequibo, a border region with vast oil deposits off its shores. Maduro argued the ship's deployment violates a recent agreement between the South American nations, signed earlier this month.
Having served as the star of the show over Christmas, come January, our trees often become rubbish that is difficult to get rid of. It could be said that not enough thought is given as to how to be sustainable at Christmas. Even before the Christmas period, there is a waste problem. In Romania, unsold Christmas trees are often just left on the street.
În zona asta, la 100 de lei, și seara 80 de lei. Pe nu, domnule, ieftinește, îl dai cu 50 de lei. Și ai vânzare, n-au spiritul lui comercianți.
But there are environmentally friendly solutions for your tree. If you bought it in a pot, you can replant it. Or, when recycled, the mulch and compost material produced from the trees can be used in parks, gardens and common areas.
Nu îi interesează pe nimeni de partea de sustenabilitate, de ce se aruncă, pentru că omul la final, pe 25 decembrie, strânge brazii sau îi lasă aici și pleacă cu banii pe care i-a făcut.
If you can't compost at home, trees and all their needles can be placed in a biodegradable bag and dropped off at local waste disposal centres.
Ja, eigentlich ist Nordmazedonien von der Sonne verwöhnt. Da sollte ein Ausstieg aus der dreckigen Kohle einfach sein. Doch wegen der Energiekrise geschieht hier genau das Gegenteil. Uralte Kohlekraftwerke blasen Unmengen von Schadstoff in die Luft. Schafft es Nordmazedonien mit der Energiewende? Gibt es überhaupt noch einen Hoffnungsschimmer? Eine Recherche hier vor Ort in der Kohlegrube für euronews.just-in.
Пета светска криза, знаете дека се помести сите рокови, каде што сега сме во тек да отвориме и трет рудник, живојно, така што за наредните 30 години би имале доволно јаглен да работи нашата термоелектрана.
This will completely destroy the coal exit strategy. The closure date needs to remain 2030. If the EU accession does happen, I think that we will have to close the power plants before we accede.
When the last coal mine, when the last coal power plant will shut down?
Во Македонија мислам дека е предвидено по стратегијата за енергетика негде 2030 година да се затворат сите јагленови копови.
Cosa accade lungo le frontiere interne europee quando quelle esterne sono sotto pressione a causa dell'aumento dei flussi di migranti? ovvero quando Lampedusa è al collasso, cosa accade a Ventimiglia, la porta occidentale d'Italia verso il nord Europa. Per capirlo sono venuta proprio a Ventimiglia, al confine tra Italia e Francia.
L'ultimo 15 chilometri sono una violenza psicologica e morale soprattutto da parte dell'Europa nei confronti di gente che ormai non può tornare indietro. Vous avez pas beaucoup de bagages, no? Tutti, nessuno escluso, se sono arrivati fino in frontiere, sono stati refusés dalla polizia francese, vogliono tornare in stazione per ritentare.
Là, on est aux alentours de 80 interpellations quotidiennes, le record étant 300 interpellations dans la même journée.
È una strage continua, silente, che ovviamente non ha le proporzioni di quella nel Mediterraneo, ma che purtroppo avviene qui anche al centro dell'Europa.